Hello everyone, Geothermal Greenhouse Nation friends. This is Caleb Warnock, and this is a tour of my first 40-foot cold soil type greenhouse. I have two 40-foot greenhouses, both of them built into the ground. This one, the video I posted last week, is the greenhouse that is newer and is 4 feet in the ground. This greenhouse is like 16 years old and is built 18 inches deep into the ground. And I would like to point out that you saw the opening segment of me walking into this greenhouse. This greenhouse is built backwards. So this is an old style greenhouse. We don't build this um, design, of course, anymore because the building is literally backward. The shortest um, wall is the south wall, and the shortest wall should always be the north wall for reasons I won't go into in this video. But anyway, so this is just a walkthrough tour, and then I'll take you through in a moment, and we will spend some time looking at what all of these things are in detail and what's going on in this greenhouse. But I actually filmed this footage that you're watching right now on the 2nd of January 2025. It was either the 2nd or the 3rd. And then um, I was going to do a video, and I got busy and I never got around to it. So today I went back out to this greenhouse. Today is the 15th of January, so it's been almost 2 weeks since I shot this footage that you're watching right now. And I shot some more footage today, so you're going to see both tours in this video because I figured why not. So you can see here that there are some empty boxes, but they're not actually empty. They've just within the past 2 weeks have been planted with seeds because the winter solstice has just passed at Christmas time. I believe the solstice was on December 21st in 2024, and that means it is time now to plant the spring garden because it is astronomical spring in the geothermal greenhouse. So here, this is the footage right now that you're seeing that I actually filmed today, January 15th, 2025. Same greenhouse. I just thought I'd show you both of the video tours since I had both of the footage. And this morning at my house, there were 4 inches of ice on the horse trough. And the chicken water was actually frozen solid, and I tried to break it this morning and actually broke the chicken water. So I had to go find a whole new one. But anyway. In this greenhouse, there was a little bit of ice on the water barrel inside this greenhouse because the design of this greenhouse, there's one end, the end where the door is in full, complete shade all the time. And right in this, and then on the other side of this greenhouse, there is the water that my fish live in over the winter. And I just thought it was interesting that where you walk into the greenhouse, there's actually a chair for me to sit in, which I don't know if you can see in this footage. There's a chair for me to sit in, and because there's no thermal mass on that side, it's always pretty cold over there, and I designed it that way on purpose so that I would have a place to sit in the cooler shade in the summer when it was so hot outside. But in that portion of the greenhouse, it actually freezes. But I thought, even though it's the same greenhouse, that water had ice on it. The water where my fish live had no ice on it because they are in the part of the greenhouse that has thermal mass and has sunlight during the day. It's been interesting for me to film these videos for you. You're watching me harvest my carrots today. It's been interesting for me to film these videos for you guys because I start to notice things about my greenhouse that I take for granted that I haven't thought about in a long time. These carrots, just as a side note, are autumn planted carrots, and they have to be picked now because they're going to start to go to seed. And the longer they sit in that greenhouse, the smaller those roots are going to get because carrots are biennial, and so the plant makes those big roots, and then after the astronomical spring happens, then it starts to use the energy stored inside the root to produce flowers and seeds. And so those roots actually shrink. And so I needed to get those out of there because I want to eat them. I don't want them to go to flower. So you guys got to watch me pick the carrots today out of the greenhouse, and in a minute in this very next video, these are just regular carrots, and then in the next video these are Parisian carrots, which is a type of ball carrot. Instead of a long root, it has a ball that was developed in France like 400 years ago specifically for growing in winter cold frames and cloches. And I haven't grown these in probably at least 10 years just because they have smaller roots on them, but you can plant them pretty late in the year and they will still form a full carrot, even though for them a full carrot is a small bulb. And so I don't know, my friends and I were talking last autumn and we all agreed that I should plant some. So I did. So look, there they are, the Parisian carrots. Let me just say that if you have never tasted winter-grown carrots, there is nothing like them. They are extremely sweet and crisp and delicious and taste nothing like the carrots in the grocery store. They're about 1,000 times better than the carrots in the grocery store. So you should try some if you love to garden. You can grow them even outside. You don't even have to have a greenhouse. You can overwinter your carrots outside. But anyway, here's some still photos of the carrots that I harvested today and the Parisian carrots that I harvested today. And then in this next set of photos, you're going to see my Tokyo Bacana. We're going to say goodbye to these carrots, which I haven't tasted them yet because I left them soaking in a bucket of water because they've got soil on them, these carrots. So I left them soaking in the greenhouse overnight so they would be easy to wash tomorrow. So I get to eat them tomorrow, or at least start eating them tomorrow. This is a photo of the Tokyo Bacana, which is an Asian, it's a sort of a type of cabbage, like a Napa cabbage, and it is one of my favorite things to grow in the greenhouse over the winter. If you would like some seeds, you can buy that at seedrenaissance.com, which is my seed company, seedrenaissance.com. And so I cut this photo I took 2 weeks ago on the same day I took the first video tour because I needed to cut everything down because some of it was getting kind of raggedy. And so I wanted to show you that we have a unique opportunity for you to see how much this has grown, because this is the photo I took today of that same Tokyo Bacana, and you can see how much it has grown from the 1st or 2nd of January. It was the 2nd of January to January 15th in the dead of winter. That's how much growth I got off of the Tokyo Bacana. Of course, it's just going to grow faster and faster as it gets a little warmer. Our coldest temperatures of winter are going to be, according to the forecast, are going to be in about 5 days, and it is going to be below 0 at night. And then it's going to start to warm up a little bit. But the temperatures this week the high temperatures have been like 32, 33, 34 degrees every single day, and the nights have been pretty cold, but we have not had any nights below 0 Fahrenheit yet. So, and then I decided to put a still photograph of these 2 shots of my Tokyo Bacana together for you so you could see side by side the growth that has happened in this cold soil greenhouse in just 2 weeks. It's pretty amazing. And I've been eating this Tokyo Bacana for months now. I just eat it and cut it and it comes back, and you cut it and it comes back, and you cut it and it comes back. It is getting now toward the end of its life cycle because as it gets warmer, it is going to bolt and go to seed. But I've already replanted some more Tokyo Bacana for the spring harvest in another greenhouse. So these are some of my yellow pear-shaped tomatoes that are sitting here unharvested, shamefully unharvested. I really need to go out and I need to harvest these tomatoes. But it's always hard to say goodbye to the tomatoes. Some of these tomatoes are just going to have to be used for seed because they have been sitting there for so long. This is celery, and it's a special kind of celery called pink plume celery. And I don't ever have to plant celery in this greenhouse because it just plants itself every year. The seeds, it goes to seed, the seeds fall, it plants itself. So I just have celery growing all the time in this greenhouse. If you would like some of these pink plume celery seeds, you can get those at seedrenaissance.com. All the seeds we sell are heirloom and chemical free. I have some lavender that I in boxes and some red baron onions. I believe they're red baron onions, or else they're Dutch shallots. I can't remember, but anyway, I think they're red baron onions, both in boxes that had been sitting outside last summer and autumn, and I just brought them in to overwinter in this greenhouse. And they were kind of in the shady part of the greenhouse, and they were getting a little too cold. So today I moved them over into the part of the greenhouse that actually gets sunlight. But I'm looking forward to, I mean, it's great to have that lavender in there because it smells so nice, but that lavender, if I leave it in this greenhouse, it's actually going to go into flower earlier. And so I'm looking forward to that. And those onions are getting ready to multiply because they are the kind of onion that does multiply its bulbs. I think that's true. If not, they're going to go to seed. Now that I'm saying that, I'm wondering, wait a minute, have I got that confused? Anyway, forgive me. I'm just trying to take you through this tour. Let's see what's on the next photo here that I've got for you. Boom. Oh, this is mint. This happens to be, what kind of mint? Chocolate mint, I think, that I bought at my friend's greenhouse a few weeks ago, and I just popped it into this greenhouse so that it would have a place to stay. Of course, mint spreads everywhere, so I'm growing mint in this. I'm going to leave this mint in this container because I don't want to plant it out in the open garden because then it's going to be a garden pest. I don't want mint growing everywhere. I've already got some mint that escaped into my garden that I've got to dig out in the spring, and I don't want that to happen again. Also, this particular variety, this chocolate mint, is not as hardy as some of the other mints, and so I think if I left it outside, it would probably die. I think it's only hardy to like zone 7. My microclimate is zone 4B, although we have not been that cold this winter. We have been more like, at my house, like a 5A, 5B this winter, but um, zones are an estimate. It's not going to be that way every winter. Anyway, we could talk about that in a different video because this is winter savory. And very few people grow winter savory, and that is crazy because winter savory is one of the best herbs for spicing food that you can grow. It's amazing. Has an amazing flavor, and they call it savory for a reason because it's a really savory flavor. And so I have been cutting this and drying it and picking it and using it to cook this winter. It is a perennial, so it'll just grow and stay. There are two different kinds of savory. There's summer savory, which is an annual, so you have to replant it every year. And this is winter savory, the perennial version. And it is absolutely one of my favorites. So if you've never tried it before, you should try it. And I'll bet you know where you can get some seeds for it, seedrenaissance.com. I want to include these photos of the tour of this greenhouse because one thing about this greenhouse and it being 16 years old and the soil never freezes inside this greenhouse, even though on that one end where the water barrel is, we do sometimes get some ice on the water barrel, but the soil never freezes either in the growing boxes or in the pathway. And so the things that grow in the greenhouse throw their seeds all over, and as a result, I have vegetables growing all over the floor. In this photo, you see some chard, 2 borage plants, and a milk thistle plant, all of which have just planted themselves on the floor, which is something that I really like about my greenhouse. It's just kind of like a wild garden of Eden. And those borage plants in this photo will quickly be going to flower because the solstice has passed. And so borage flowers are blue and they have blue petals and they taste like cucumbers, and I really like those. And so those will be in flower in this greenhouse for probably 5 or 6 months until the heat of summer, and I will be able to come out there every day and pull a couple of flowers off and eat them. So I'm looking forward to that. And I didn't even do anything. They planted themselves. Oh, I planted them the first time, but they planted them themselves after that. This is more milk thistle growing in my greenhouse. Milk thistle is not a vegetable that you eat. It's a medicinal herb that you use for your liver to help your liver recover if it has minor damage or is sluggish or has some been mistreated, or if you have fatty liver disease or something like that. It's not going to cure full-blown cirrhosis or anything like that, but it is a traditional herb used to help people um, speed recovery of their liver. And these plants, I grow them in my greenhouse, and now they just grow themselves. They throw themselves all over the floor and just grow on the floor. And I just leave them there and let them go to seed because they do not like to be transplanted. These milk thistle plants do not like to be dug up. Let's see what's next here. Oh, this is camelina, which is an unusual thing to be growing grain in the middle of the winter in a cold soil greenhouse. But I've been growing camelina in my greenhouses for many years because camelina is a self-pollinating grain that really works well in the greenhouse and will give 2 harvests a year if it is grown in the cold soil greenhouse. So I just pretty much keep it growing all the time. This is the flower, a flower of one of the pea plants on the very end of the greenhouse. I love eating peas every day out of the greenhouse, and I love looking at the flowers. And also, I use the flowers to make botanical prints, and I use them to make botanical paint as well. I think I mentioned in my last video that I do have a whole channel of me, a whole YouTube channel of me making botanical paints, pigments, and dyes. It's called 1000 Botanical Colors on YouTube, so if you would like to head over there, you can watch me do crazy things with plants, crazy fun things with plants. And I also teach that class at the local university as well. And so it's fun. These pea flowers make really good pressed flower impressions, like on cards and stuff. It's kind of fun. And you can make paint out of them as well, but can't eat too many because then you won't have any peas. Luckily, I have 9 greenhouses. This is German chamomile that is getting ready to go to flower. It's been growing in this greenhouse. I planted it from seed probably in August, and I planted it in here because the chamomile that grows out in the open garden loses its flowers so fast. I thought I'm going to try growing it in the greenhouse to see if I can dry some of its flowers for chamomile tea. It might be easier to harvest them out of the greenhouse. This is another couple of photographs. This is oxalis. This is just more, and some Swiss chard. More photographs of stuff planting itself in my pathway in my greenhouse. Oxalis kind of looks like a 4-leaf clover. It's actually a salad green that tastes like lemons. It's called oxalis because it does have oxalic acid in it, so you don't want to eat too much of it, but it is delicious, and me and the animals all like to snack on it. It's a great snacking herb, and of course it's a great thing to add into a salad. And then I just have Swiss chard growing everywhere in my greenhouses. The Swiss chard goes to flower, it goes to seed, and plants itself all over my greenhouses, so I seem to have Swiss chard all the time. This is Claytonia, also called miner's lettuce. And there's a whole section of this growing in the floor of my greenhouse. And so, of course, I don't eat vegetables that I walk on, but since it's growing on the edge, it doesn't get walked on, and I can just pick it and I can eat it. And it is that time of year where we're eating Claytonia because Claytonia loves to grow in the cold. Here is just a whole bunch of oxalis growing in the pathway of my greenhouse. And this is catnip that planted itself in my greenhouse. Probably, I don't know, more than 10 years ago, I planted catnip in my greenhouse on purpose, and it went to seed and planted itself, and it's just planted itself in the greenhouse every year since. Of course, it also does this out in the open garden too, but not during the middle of the winter. Um, this is broccoli that is just starting to go to seed, or not to seed, forming its broccoli heads, because it is now astronomical spring inside the greenhouse. So the broccoli is actually forming, and I'm just waiting impatiently so I can snap that off and eat it. These tomatoes, of course, you cannot grow tomatoes during the winter in the cold soil greenhouse. That's what the hot soil greenhouse is for. But I planted these in there in July or June. I think I planted them on June 15th from seed, trying to see if I could get them to ripen before the cold. We have a very short growing season here, and I wanted to see if I could get them to ripen before it got too cold, and I'm still waiting. The tomatoes are fine. They're firm. They're green. They could be eaten as green tomatoes right now, but I'm just leaving them there to see if they will ripen on their own. This is a little mystery that I want to talk to you guys about. So the mystery is that there is some creature living in this greenhouse. I keep the door to my greenhouses, the doors open through the summer, and I think there's a rabbit living in this greenhouse, because if you look carefully at this photo, you can see that some creature has been digging in that dirt, and I have planted this box 3 times since the solstice, and it just keeps getting dug up. And this box has really been dug up. And 3 years ago, we had a rabbit that vanished. And it's interesting because just the other day, my granddaughter asked me if I had seen that rabbit from 3 years ago. Now I'm wondering, because I was out there in the greenhouse today, this is parsley, this is dulce d'Alger. I was wondering, maybe that black rabbit that vanished 3 years ago is what is out here sort of destroying my greenhouse. But it's kind of a mystery because it doesn't eat any vegetables. I do think whatever it is eating stuff off of the pathway of the greenhouse, which it's welcome to do. Now I'm just showing you the video footage again, by the way, so you can look at the tour again while I talk to you for a minute. But anyway, so I think there's a rabbit, because originally when winter hit, sometimes I wasn't having this problem until like December. And then sometimes in December, when the full sun was out, I would open the door in the greenhouse, and then I would, for maybe 2 or 3 hours, if it was in the 40s or the 50s, it gets kind of warm in the greenhouse, so I would open the door to the greenhouse, and then I would come back out and close it before it got too cold outside. And then and I would come out the next day to eat out of the greenhouse, to pick something out of the greenhouse, and there would be stuff dug up there. And so I thought my dog, who was just 12 months old, I thought my dog who's a puppy, was getting in there and digging it, and I didn't really think about it. But the greenhouse now has been closed all the time for at least 2 weeks, maybe 2.5 weeks. Hasn't been opened at all while I'm not out there. And so there's no way that the dog's been getting in that greenhouse. See, look, you can see in that box right there in this video shot, that box has been dug out. So I think there might be a rabbit hiding in my greenhouse. Some creature. And it's got to be a pretty large creature, because you can see the marks of it using its feet to dig, and that is the pattern of how rabbits dig. So I don't know. I haven't seen a rabbit. I have not seen any rabbit poop. But some creature is driving me crazy in this greenhouse, digging stuff up, my seeds that I keep planting. And the reason that it is doing it is because I made kind of a critical mistake. So, um, I don't even remember why I did this, but I had 3, I moved these boxes around and use them and move them, and sometimes I take boxes and move them out for the summer, and it just depends on what's in them. Most of them stay in the greenhouse all the time. But I had 3 boxes in this greenhouse that were empty, or nearly empty, because I'm always stealing soil from myself, because inside these boxes, they're all hugelkultur boxes, and inside the boxes is really nice compost. So if I need compost and there's something a box that's not being used, then I often steal compost from myself, knowing that I can come back and re-hugelkultur my box. So a friend of mine gave me a bunch of um, millet and lentils that were like 30 years old, thinking that I could maybe feed them to my horse. Well, I would have to soak them for my horse because they're so old and so hard. And I did soak some of them, and my horse was kind of into it for 2 or 3 days and then didn't really love it anymore. And so I thought, oh, I'm going to have a genius idea. I will just take, because I had 5 gallon buckets. I had probably 5 or 6 5 gallon buckets full of these 30-year-old lentils and millet seeds. And so I had this genius idea. I thought I'll just put these into the bottom of the hugelkultur and let it compost and decompose. Well, it turns out that was a really bad idea because I put that in there and then I covered it with a good layer of finished compost and it got super nutrient hot. And I did this in the autumn. It got super nutrient hot in there, and all the little seeds that sprouted that I was growing in there in the autumn, after about a month, they got burned by the heat. And so then I started putting a whole bunch of water on it, hoping that it would help it decompose faster. And then it started to stink. the rotting, the rotting lentils and the rotting millet started to stink, and the greenhouse smelled terrible for like 10 days. And those boxes that had that in it are the boxes that are being dug up by this rabbit or whatever little creature this is that is hiding in my greenhouse. So I thought I was being really clever by using those lentils and millet like that, but it turned out to be a really bad idea. So I wish I hadn't have done that. But anyway, that's the great thing about having several greenhouses, is that I can make a mistake here or there and I still have plenty of space to grow in. And one of these days, I'm going to get so wise and so evolved that I'm going to not make mistakes anymore like that. But I was just being cheap. Anyway, you guys, thanks for joining me in this video tour of this particular greenhouse. 12 feet by 40 feet, cold soil, geothermal greenhouse, no artificial heat, no electricity, no solar, heated entirely by the heat of the earth through the winter. It grows 365 days a year. You guys have been asking for more videos of my greenhouses, so it is now almost 1 o'clock in the morning, and instead of sleeping, I am here making videos for you. If you appreciate my heroic effort to bring you this video, please like and subscribe to this channel. If you have questions about my greenhouses or my property consultations or how I can help you design a greenhouse and help you site it on your property wherever you are in the United States or Canada through video chat, my property consultations over video chat are $400, and I charge $400, and that includes all of the plans and a guarantee that it will go 365 days a year. And so anyway, if you want more information about all of that, you can reach out to me at seedrenaissance@gmail.com. That is seedrenaissance@gmail.com, and I will leave you with a picture of my books. I have written, I think, 24 books now. I have a couple of books that have been national bestsellers, so I'll leave you with a picture of my books because I know the author. He's so smart, he's so intelligent, he's so humble, and you should definitely go buy all of his books. Thank you, everyone, and I will see you in the next video. Here are the books.